Hey, what it is, what it do? It's the brothers of the BOTB. We back at BarBOTB. How y'all doing? You know what it is the Hope They Happy Hour tap in. My brother's not here today. He's feeling down. If y'all friends with him on social media, you know he got that boo boo bug, the boo boo out the boo and the boo boo out the mouth bug is going around here. I know several people that done got it. I don't want it. Sure, I'd have heard people say they'd rather have COVID than that, staying in the bathroom all day, but I don't want not near one of them. But he'll get better and he'll get back on here. So tonight we got Mr. Jarrett. Let me make sure I'm saying this. Frierson, Mr.
You got
Jarrett
it.
Frierson.
You got
Um,
it.
he was a link from our one of our guests, our past guest, Mr. Omar Sanders. He networked with us. He networked this for us. So we about to get into it. We about to talk about some financial stuff. One more thing, my homeboy Animated Brand. He's one of our big supporters. You see his website's going at the bottom. Just tap into the website. Just show some love. Just even if you just want to take a peek and get out. But I appreciate Mr. Jarrett Frierson since he come here sharing his time with us. You got anything to say, bro? Before we get into it?
Look, look, I appreciate you being on here, man. Love everything you're doing with this podcast. You know, your home team. So definitely want to shoot that shot and talk with you and just hear what everybody got to say.
All right, that's what's up. So we got this thing. We got this dope thing. It's called. It's called. Matter of fact, before we get in the first call, we got to think off first call. It's
Mm.
something on my mind. I wanted to get off. We had the bad tornado come through the Midwest, all the way coming up to the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And Clarksville, Tennessee, got hit pretty bad. We got some family out there. He was doing well, but there's a lot of people that lost a lot of stuff they can't replace and a lot of stuff they can replace. And prayers out to those people in Clarksville, Tennessee. They got hit real bad. There's a lot of videos going viral. How the tornado just popped up out of nowhere and just destruction. So prayers out to the people of Clarksville.
Definitely prayers to them.
All right. So we got this thing called first call. So first call something is just something real relaxed. It's just something to get your mind off it. It's just some random questions. Just whatever come to your mind, just spew it out.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna go on. We're gonna go wings. We're gonna go wings. So you in Atlanta, correct?
Definitely, definitely.
Definitely. All right. So we're gonna go hot obey wings or lemon pepper wings.
Lemon pepper. Gotta go
You
with the
more
lemon
dry
pepper.
with?
I like it dry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
My my dad make a mean deep fried turkey wing, lemon pepper turkey wing. He make a mean. He been doing it like I've been doing it over 15 years. Like everybody just getting on it, but he been killing them with them turkey wings. We got people come from far away to get his turkey wings when they know he cooking them.
Sounds like you need to sell it.
Bruh, man. All right, this is a dope one. A lot of people don't know about this. A root beer float or just a straight up milkshake?
Me milkshake. I keep it simple with stuff like that. You ask my kids and my wife, they might go with the root beer shake, but nah, I keep it serious with just the coke.
All right,
Excuse me,
that's
with the
what's
shake.
up.
With the shake. Yeah.
That's what's up. You fuck with the cookout shakes, milkshakes?
The cookout? Nah, not really. I like it's a couple places I like Shake Shacks, some other ones I like I don't do Chick-fil-A too much, but I'm kind of like high post when it comes to milkshakes. I like the real machine shaking milkshakes, not the real quick fast food ones.
Okay, okay. Your favorite restaurant in Atlanta?
Favorite restaurant. It changes from time to time, man. Like if we're talking about I like a lot of Jamaican food, so it's a couple spots out here I like down here. If we're talking about hot wings, I like JR Cricket. If we're talking about pizza, I like P Bello. So it just varies. It changes with the times.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I got a partner down there. I don't get down to Atlanta too much, so whenever we
Hmm.
have a guest, I always ask like, what's their favorite restaurant, just in case I'm down there. I probably won't
Yeah, yeah,
remember.
definitely, definitely.
One of my favorite, hardest word for you to pronounce.
Hardest word. This is a simple one. I think I pronounce it right, but my wife she always says I pronounce it wrong. It's theater. She said,
Theater?
I don't know how it's theater. I put it with that R at the end. She says I say that wrong, but theater.
Yeah, my dad catch hell with Blackwood. He can't say Blackwood for nothing. And
How did you say it?
Blackwood. But the
You
crazy
missing an
thing,
H.
I thought he was the only one, but I done ran across some. All of them are older gentlemen. They say it the same way. They say it the same way.
Definitely.
A weekend on the water or a weekend in the mountains?
Weekend on the water. I love the water. That's one thing. I love Atlanta. Atlanta's a world-class city, but I always say the one thing they're missing out on is a huge body of water, man. So that's why I'm jealous of the Miamis and the New Yorks and the LAs and the Chicagos. We need that water, man. So I love the water.
All right. They drop you off in the safari. Is you in a line? We'll say y'all 50 feet away. Or you dropped off in the wilderness with a bear that's 50 feet away.
I'm gonna go deeper there. What kind of bear are we talking about? So I just learned certain bears are more aggressive than others. So I think I'll take my chances with a bear than a lion, honestly.
Did you see the little clip? I think it's a little older now. It's a lady and her son, and they're eating. A bear come on their picnic table to start eating up all their food.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll take my chances with a bear.
That shit crazy. Growing up, I don't know if you did this. Buying stuff out the middle of the mall. What have you ever purchased out the middle of the mall?
Middle of the mall? So I think it was called Spinnakers or Spencer's. It was one of the malls that had some stores that had like just t-shirts, like rap t-shirts and just knick-knack stuff. I used to go there time and get some t-shirts like the Wu-Tang shirt when they were really big. So that'd be the kind of stuff I get. Just hip-hop oriented t-shirts and things like that.
All right. Your favorite rapper?
That's a hard one. I say Nas is one of them. I think he's definitely one of them. Tupac is up there. It's a lot of them, man. I go and change for times, but I think Nas and Tupac will probably be the first two.
All right, what up, my man Smitty? He's a great talent, a manager, talent speaker. Man, Smitty, he in the building. Let me see a good one.
Let me ask you. Who is your top rappers?
My top rapper.
Top rapper out of them.
I mean, I've always been a big T.I. fan. So T.I. Killer Mike.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm one of those. As far as groups, I'm Dirty Boys out of Alabama. I love Dirty Boys.
Yeah. So I say this. I've seen when they came to Columbia a while ago, probably 20 years ago. I like them. Kind of remind me of UGK. You got the Pimp and the Gangster. T.I., being in Atlanta, I was here when T.I. first popped off. So I saw it from the jump. I remember one time we was in Miami and he pulled up and gave us a CD and listened to it was like maybe 8 songs and I knew he was out of there. This was before he even got big, but it had Dope Boys in the Trap, had I'm Serious, some other ones. I knew he was a star. And then, I used to always see him in the city. That's one person you can look at and say, yeah, he's a star. He's somebody that's going to be who we thought he is. So shout out to T.I.
It's crazy because people just seeing T.I. now. Like the time you're talking about is like stuff I know happened, even if I wasn't there because of other people's similar stories of interactions with T.I.
Yeah.
T.I. first album, but in the streets, and that I'm Serious album is a different T.I. than what the young generation see now. If they go back, they'll be like, oh, they see why he's the king of the South.
Yeah, and I definitely think in the South they really understood what in the streets meant to the culture. Yeah. I mean, I remember that summer he was coming out with like mixtapes back after back. I mean, every car down the street when you're at the club was playing one of those songs, man, and it was just great to see how he was somebody. You always had that guy that's kind of like the underdog and you're rooting for him and they never make it. He's one of those people that did make it. So shout out to T.I.
How old are your kids?
So I got 4 of them. I got a 16-year-old, 12, 9, and 7.
Okay. It's going all
3
right.
girls and 1 boy.
If you could put all of them in the same sport, what sport would it be?
Since I got girls and since I got boys, probably say soccer. And I'm being a realist on that. None of my kids are going to be super tall, you know. Football is my sport, but I'm not having girls in football, of course. And basketball, they're not really into basketball. So I guess soccer would be the even to have all 4 of them, man.
Man, why you bullshitting? Something that needs to be taken over is volleyball. Like volleyball get a lot of love.
Look, volleyball is serious out here, man. I didn't know, like, when I was in high school, I felt like volleyball for the girls was like you play basketball. When basketball season's over with, you do volleyball just to do something. Yeah. But, you know, it's serious out here. They got competitive leagues. I had one of my daughters in it, spent $1,000 or $2 just for her to do a couple of weeks of volleyball. So I didn't understand, but I do realize now how serious it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the sports that's low key, but if they on ESPN there's money, they just ain't got the correct marketing.
Yeah. And I think the sport's growing over the past 5 years, man.
Yeah. I know my dad's neighbor, he come by the house, his daughter, like, she been getting small interest since she was like in 8th grade. You know, as a black girl in sports, she's not playing basketball, she's not playing nothing that's common, she's playing volleyball.
Yeah.
Like that's something. That's something.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
My last question: you drink?
Definitely.
All right. What's your preferred drink?
And I'll break it down like this. When I was younger, it was beer. I was a beer guy. I drink beer every once in a while, but I like scotch. I like whiskey. I like tequila. One thing that I really want to plug with the whiskey is Uncle Nearest. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Uncle Nearest, right? You are? Okay. Yeah, that's one I really like. But right now, you know, over the holiday season, it's going to be all brown. So it's going to be whiskey, scotch, things like that.
I had Uncle Nearest last Saturday for the party. I was at my homeboy house, and on his party brought a bottle over. Me and my homeboy about a month ago, we drank a whole bottle. So I fuck with whiskey and bourbon heavy. Those are my 2 heavy ones I drink. And I probably done had over my time over about 100 different brands.
It's so many.
It's so many. And the thing about it is, like, people understand, like, vodka and gin, you can produce it. Whiskey and bourbon, they have to sit. So it's not something you can just mass produce and get out of that. Yeah,
definitely.
Shit, I think I might have got away from the number of granddaughter as a cheerleader, track athlete. The money is ridiculous. There we go. Smitty said Uncle Nearest. Smooth. Yeah, Smitty. He not a big drinker, so if he saying smooth, then that's saying something. That's saying
definitely.
Well, shit, if you coming up this way, you got a bottle of Uncle Nearest. I damn sure drink it with you if you coming up this way for the holiday.
Definitely will, man.
Oh, and my last one, go on. What was your favorite cartoon growing up?
I like G.I. Joes, like Ninja Turtles. Real big Ninja Turtle guy. I think those are some of my favorite ones, man. A little bit old for South Park, but, you know, if I'm watching any comedy now, it's going to be that adult dark comedy comic. But I say definitely Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jarrett. You know, that was just a little small walkthrough. Usually my brother do 5, I do 5, and we get on about it. But let's tell them why you're here. Let's just get an introduction of who Jarrett is. You still there? You still there?
Signal again, man.
Nah,
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Definitely.
Yeah, just explain a little briefly about who Jarrett growing up was.
Growing up, I think I had 2 sessions of life. It was can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little broken up, but I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I was saying growing up, I had two obsessions. It was football and it was hip hop music, man. Those are the two things that I love and was interested in. I say I had my knucklehead stage in high school. If you ask not anybody, but some people in high school, they'd probably be surprised to see where I'm at in life right now. So yeah, I had my knucklehead stage, but definitely I was always a solid dude, somebody you could count on. Had a good network of friends, and was definitely loyal, and still in touch with a lot of my friends I grew up with.
So graduating high school, everybody hits that. Everybody hits that couple months after you graduate. Some people got join the military, they got to go right in, but there's still a break.
Yeah.
Everybody gets that little break of what's the next step.
Yeah.
So what was your break after high school in deciding the direction of your life?
I kind of feel like I really didn't have a break because, after high school, you had summer vacation, and summer was so short when you're about to start college, So, I just jumped right into college and just kind of figured it out from there. It was a big move coming to Atlanta from Columbia, and just kind of getting used to the pace of how it is in Atlanta and how things move in comparison to back home. But, I think I was prepared for that moment for a while. So, things just moved so quick. Everything was a blur in that period.
All right. So like, what did you do after high school? What type of work did you get into?
Man, so after high school, that summer, I think I was working at Papa John's or something. It was Papa John's, I think, Lake Murray Boulevard. Yeah, I was working, just kind of hanging out, having a good time, ready to start college.
All right. So where'd you go? What was your major?
I went to Clark Atlanta University. So it's an HBCU down here in Atlanta. So the AU Center is it's comprised of like 4 or 5 different colleges. You got Morehouse, Morris Brown, Clark, Spelman, and I went to Clark. So we're all kind of not really same campus, but we share the same library. So went to Clark, majored in mass communications, and then after that, worked for about 2-3 years, just in and odd jobs, just trying to figure out my next move. And then went to law school. So I did law school part-time while I was working full-time, raising the family, just grinding, doing all these different things. And then from there, I jumped into financial service.
That's dope.
Yeah.
We do love to shout out to HBCUs, as you said. I actually went to South Carolina State for like 2 years.
Okay.
What did you, because I know I have an idea, but leaving the area that you grew up in, which was not predominantly Black, and just putting foot on HBCU grounds, like mentally, how did you adjust?
I don't think it was a huge adjustment because honestly, we got Benedict, we got South Carolina State. These are places I went for the summertime for camps. Although I grew up in Irma, Harbison. Majority of my family was in the city. So I spent a lot of time in the city. I was like the suburban kid in my family. Everybody else was from Columbia or somewhere else up and down the East Coast. So I think I was kind of ready, and I was longing for that opportunity. And, that wasn't the reality check. I think the reality check at HBCU it's people from every major city that came down there. And they move differently. Chicago people move differently. Oakland people move differently. LA people move differently. Of course, New York people move differently. Miami people, they definitely, like South Florida, they got their own thing going on. So it was just an interaction of all these different people from different, cultures and backgrounds. So, I was longing for that opportunity, and I loved it. And that's what I got when I went to the HBCU, man. It was a melting pot, just everybody.
Man, what was your favorite time? Was it homecoming?
What'd you say?
What was your favorite time there? Homecoming? But who had the best homecoming in that little section?
I want to say we did, man. I mean, one year we had T.I. T.I. would perform. Another year we had Dipset. So pretty much anybody that was hot at that moment, we had them at homecoming. I mean, I can halfway speak for Morehouse and Spelman, but I want to say we probably had the best homecoming because we always had the artists coming to our campus, so it wasn't nothing to see artists walking around, and it wasn't nothing to see them perform. So I think we had the best homecoming. I'm sure a Morehouse and Spelman person say something totally different, but I think we had it.
I ain't gonna lie. South Carolina State, where I think we shut down. We were shut down Orangeburg for like 3-4 days, but it was fun.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
fun while it lasted. It was fun while it lasted.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you said you got your master's. So
No,
what
no,
was
I
your
went to law school after that.
law school? Okay. So what was
Yeah, yeah,
so what was
yeah.
your first job after law school?
So my first job after law school, and let me go back. So I was working during law school. So I had a job. And when I got out of law school, the first job I had out of there was financial service. So I was working for a black-owned broker-dealer. It was probably the best experience for me because it gave me the foundation. And, you know, I was at a unicorn firm. I was working with two guys. They was from New York. You know, around the way dudes from New York, didn't have this fancy education, but had hustle and grind. And, you know, they definitely believed in me and they exposed me to everything and they wanted me to win. So it was a great place for me to learn everything. And, you know, I started as like, you know, at the bottom doing just the clerical stuff to moving up to a leadership role. And, you know, they were never like, is this too much for you? It was always like, we think you can do it. We're going to let you figure it out. And you got the foundation behind you. So, you know, that was my experience in the industry. It was a great experience. Still connected with those guys. Everybody's doing their own thing right now, but it was just a unique experience. I'm not sure too many people can say they had an experience where they worked at a firm where it was made up like the firm I was at.
Yeah. So we keep going back down the timeline. So what happened after that?
Yeah, so I was at that firm about 6 years. Unfortunately, some things happened, and that's still getting played out. But we had one of our traders did some trades that he wasn't supposed to do, and it basically brought the company under, you know. And you know, I had to figure it out from there. So you know, I was still with the team. You know, they had some other firms, and we went on and we were building out another firm. But through that whole period, even when I was with that firm, you know, we cleared our business through Raymond James. So I was always aware of Raymond James. I was aware of their technology, their culture. And I don't know if you're an Apple or a Samsung or a Google guy, but I kind of feel like Raymond James was more like your Apple. It was simple, it was functional, it wasn't too confusing, everything moved smoothly and it made sense. And I just knew in the back of my head, if anything happened and I had to make a move, you know, why not go to Raymond James? I already had my clients over there. I was very familiar with the technology. So been there ever since. And that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I'm Samsung. Fuck an Apple.
I kind of had that feeling you're a Samsung guy.
I'm a Samsung guy.
I'm an Apple guy, man.
So
Apple over here.
And within your field, you're coming from an HBCU once again.
Yeah.
How does it feel, or is there even a feeling about being a black man in that field?
Yeah, it's a great feeling, but it's a tough feeling because sometimes, and most of the time, you're the only one in that room. You're the only one in that office. You know, it's not too many that you see in leadership roles. And I'm gonna be honest, this business is hard as an advisor. You gotta think of a lot of these advisors, you know, that initially get in this business, you know, they thrive off the network they're around. They might have family members, they might have classmates, neighbors that have millions of dollars to invest in. You know, with me, I don't really have that network. You know, that's something I had to build over time. So, you know, it's a tough business. It's a business where you gotta look and see who can I follow after that looks like me. And sometimes it's not somebody that looks at like you. So you gotta be that person to kind of make that move yourself. But you know, I honestly feel like the financial service industry is like the last frontier. You know, we have a lot of doctors, we have a lot of lawyers. We need more people in finance, man. And this is a great industry to be in. I just think it just needs to be a lot more exposure and let people know that you can be in this business. Because, you know, I always had an interest in investing as a kid. And, you know, I just thought that the only way you can invest or be an investment business is if you're on Wall Street and you went and got an Ivy League degree. So for years, I didn't even think this was an option that was available for me, man. And I remember I was working a job and the guy that was handling the 401k came to our office and he was talking about some things. And I was like, yo, what do you do? How can I do what you do? And he kind of basically stunned on me like, I was working in a warehouse at that point. He looked at me like, yeah, it's not going to happen for you, brother, you know? And that kind of pushed me even further. Like, let me start doing more research. Let me start reading about the industry, reading about investing. And it got me to the space where it's like, I could do this myself. So, It's been I say it like this. It's not like this move hasn't been on the elevator where it shoots straight up, man. I've been walking them steps, I've been grinding, and I'm still going up them steps now.
Well, I would say, like now, the level of people that want the info is higher than when my parents are raising me for that info.
Yeah.
Because raising, when I was growing up, it's, you know, you pay your bills, you got a check, you got savings, and you got emergency money.
Yeah.
There is no take this $2 and set it off to the side into this small piggy bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
And within that piggy bank, it might mature in 30 days, 45 days, 60 days a year. Like, they're not teaching you about what that piggy bank can do. They're just saying leave it in that piggy bank.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for you, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but for you having kids, do you talk to them and explain them about financing and being do you talk to them like a finance advisor? Like, hey, you don't want these cookies right now. We'll say those cookies for later, get you some better cookies next month. Or you don't want this baby doll now. We can get you a basketball goal later, or take you to a dance later. Do you explain that to them?
I'm gonna be honest. I keep it simple with my kids, because if I get too complex, they're just gonna tune me out, you know. So a good example is like, you know, I'll tell my kids about certain things, and they'll give me that look, and they're like, okay, I don't care anymore. But where I try to relate it to is just investing. Is like, you know, I got 2 girls. They're into F1 right now. F1's owned by a company that owns the Braves and some other companies, Liberty Media. So this is a public company you can buy. So I try to relate to things that they purchase, things that they wear, things that they're interested in. Like, look, you can invest in things like that, you know? And even with my younger daughter, I try to explain to her about Disney and what's going on with the business. And she can relate to it like, yeah, Disney's cool, but maybe their content needs to step up, or the platforms, this or that. So I try to keep it simple on the investing side with just kind of companies that they're aware of, that they're interested in. Let them know these are companies you can buy. This is how this works. This is how the business is. And it's funny, my youngest daughter from time to time, she's like, Disney, how much is Disney worth? What's their, and when she means that, she's trying to see like, how much is the company worth? What's their net capital? And I'll explain it. She's like, oh, wow. So it's like, I feel like the fact that she's even asking those questions is just going to spur on longer and longer. We're going to go deeper into it. And then for my 16-year-old, you know, we're at that point where, you know, when I was younger, you know, I was busy just trying to survive, you know, working in law school. So I didn't really sit there and talk to her about that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of seeing it now. She works a job now, and whenever she gets money, she spends it quick. So I'm having that conversation with her. I set up a custodian account previously where she was able to pick her own investments. And, you know, we have 529s for all of them. So they get to see, you know, and I'm not sure if you know what a 529 is, but it's a college fund. And, you know, that's something that's simple that pretty much anybody can set up with any amount of money. And, you know, if you want to know more about it, I can talk about that further. But anyway, I had 529s for my kids for a while, and I let them see the statements to see, like, look, this is your money. This is money that you can use for college. So, you know, I try to show them real life examples of what investing is and what it brings, rather than going too textbook and too academic with them.
What was the first investment that you got into? It's kind of a trick question. It's kind of a trick question. What was the first thing you invested investment in? Yeah.
I'll say myself first, man. You know, you got to put in the time and effort, you know. So yeah, definitely myself is first, you know. Yeah. I honestly feel like we're investing every day into something. We're investing our time. We're investing our faith. You know, investing is on the line every day with what we do in life, man. So, you know, that's a big picture thing right there.
Good. But as far as a product or service, what was your first investment?
So I think my first investment was I opened up a brokerage account, and I won't go too in detail about it, but I think it was BP, and it was like maybe like 15 years ago. Remember when BP had that oil spill? It was a huge oil spill, and the stock price went down real crazy. And you know, it was funny because my wife was like, she's thinking of like the social responsibility. I'm just being selfish, you know. I'm thinking about the economic opportunity. So I jumped on that, and I had a couple of wins when I was investing, just initially just kind of blind, just making some decisions without really knowing much. And I think you know, those were lucky plays, but it made me even more interested in it, and it gave me the momentum to keep on studying and learning more about it.
That be the thing. Like I got into, like again, my homeboy I'll tell you about prior to us going live.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always been on stuff like that, and we're so tight. We're brothers. They're brothers. So when your brother tell you something,
Yeah,
it's like you hear it, but you don't hear it.
Yeah.
But because of COVID, not doing
Mhm.
nothing, I'll be at work and I'll be there by myself. So
Mhm.
only so much shit you can damn Google, especially on the companies on the company
Yeah.
server. So I just started
Mhm.
Googling stocks and crypto and
Yeah.
all this other stuff.
Mhm.
And then I
Mhm.
went to Cash App. People talk shit, but
Mhm.
the same shit people talk was why I did it. You don't want to use Cash App
Yeah.
because it's too simple. I want simple. I don't know nothing. I want
Yeah.
simple. I watched $1 get put in to a company, and the next day it was $1.01. And I
Mhm.
said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And then I listened to
Mhm.
somebody on YouTube, and they say the best thing to invest in is the things you are interested in because you will keep up because it's something you're interested in.
Yeah.
So I started
Yeah.
looking around, and I was like, "Well, shoot, I kind of like that." I didn't go for the Nikes or anything. I was like, well, "I like that company.
Mhm.
Well, this company makes sense." And it went from
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna do $1 a day. Now I'm gonna do
Mhm.
$2 a day. The worst company $2 a day because that's when I learned you're getting at a cheaper rate when it's negative or when
Yeah.
it's down.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I
Mhm.
did that, and it just started. And I'm looking at this thing climb, and I
Mhm.
took pride in it and saying I grew something.
Yeah.
But then I became a preacher, and when I was preaching it to
Yeah.
other people, I felt like how my homeboy probably felt when he was explaining shit to me. It's like it's going one end and out the other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I had one homeboy who doesn't have at the time he didn't have 401k. He really didn't have any money coming in,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I was like, dude, just get on this app and take $1 and put it in Coca-Cola. Just take $1 and put it in
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
He said he didn't want to lose no money, and when he
Uh-huh.
made that comment, that it kind of put our friendship right. It put a spotlight on it because
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell you to do something that's fucked up, and I'm only
Yeah.
asking you for the bare minimum. I want you to see it grow
Mhm.
how I saw it grow.
Mhm.
So it's just like I've been on that wave for like the last 3 years now. I don't invest a
Yeah.
lot. I got my 401k with
Mhm.
my company. I try to do it
Mhm.
on my own, just to learn the ins and outs and keep it interesting. But
Mhm.
what you're doing, especially with your kids, like kudos to you, hand clap to you. That's pretty dope.
Yeah, and I'll jump in on what you said. One, I think the whole COVID period just grew the amount of people that normally weren't investing into the space. I mean, with these podcasts like Earn Your Leisure and all these other things, it kind of just exposed us to a lot of different things of financial literacy. And honestly, just going back 15 years ago, the brokerage accounts were a lot harder for you to do. Like you might have $1,000 minimum or whatever minimum, and you didn't really have that money discretionary to put in there to invest in something that could lose money. Nowadays you can buy fractional shares. Back in the days you had to buy that. If Apple was $130 a share, you can only buy that $130 worth of share if that's all you have. But now you can get fractional shares. You got ETFs. It's so much easier nowadays to invest. Honestly, I highly recommend if anybody's interested and you have the discretionary amount, just dip your toes, put a little bit. And I think the main thing is just learning how to do it, just seeing it firsthand. It's one thing from reading things, but it's another thing when you actually experience and see things. Now you understand how it works, and then you get more comfortable with it.
So quick story. I hate to be
Mm-hmm.
like DJ Vlad, but I got a quick story. So my stock went through the roof, and that's
Okay.
when. So I had a buddy call me, and he was just like out the blue. Old coworker, I ain't talking about. He calls me out the blue. And was like, "Hey, you know anything about crypto?" And I was like, "Nah,
Mm-hmm.
I got
Mm-hmm.
this, I got this dope investment. I invested in this gas company. I was buying it at. It averaged out to $6 a share. I got 125 shares. and it was hovering around like $18 at the time. He was like, man, this crypto thing is about to run. He was like, you need to get on it. He was like, and it was Dogecoin. He was like, you need to get on it. And I was like, all right. So out of all my stocks, I had a couple other ones that was doing pretty decent, but he also explained to me how fast crypto runs. So what I did was, when he told me, I didn't mess with it. I just kept looking at it. I just monitored it. And I saw that thing early. I'm talking about like less than 1 cent. And I saw it lose a zero. Then I saw it lose another zero. Then it's at 1. Now it's at 2. Then I jumped when it got to 3. When it got to 3, it sat at 3 for a while, and I was telling all my homeboys. And then like a couple weeks later, a month later, it skyrocketed. That's when it went on its way. So what I fucked up and did was, the gas company stock I had, I got rid of that to buy more of that.
Yeah.
So then, they tell you never do it with emotion, because you're on an emotional roller coaster. So I did that. Now my crypto went stupid. It went insane. Yeah. Like I went from having, no lie, from having 10, 15, 20 bucks, $5 here, $5. I went from having, it shot to like 4 G's.
Yeah.
But I rode the wave too long. I rode the wave till it came down. But when when crypto came down, that gas went up. So that same $4 to $6 a share, that shit went up to $40-something a share, and I had 125. I had 120. I know that's small numbers for you, but for somebody that didn't know nothing, I'm talking about just on the computer. And that's when I got into investing. And I always say when we do this show, I want to get into the investing. So there was somebody on here that asked about a 529.
And can I say something real quick, just to kind of piggyback off what you said? 2 things. One, the importance of diversification. When you diversify, you have exposure to different sectors, different stocks, funds, whatever you're in. Don't feel like you have to jump out of one to get all in the other. Try to have exposure to all of them, because not all of them, but to ones that make sense for you. Because there's going to be moments where one sector or one asset class is going to jump up and the other one's not. But then the other one's going to have its time too. So, man, just try to get exposure to everything. And then I say one of the hardest things with investing is just knowing when to sell. Like when you're on that high, sometimes it's hard to determine, should I sell, should I keep? And honestly, you got to really look at your own situation, what your goals, what your objectives are, your risk tolerance. And that can kind of determine what you should do in that situation.
I know that now. It cost me a comma in stocks and a comma in the crypto. So
look, you had an expensive lesson, man.
Very expensive. But somebody asked for the 520. Explain the 529, please.
Yeah, so 529 is it's a college fund, and how it works is each state has like a state-sponsored 529. You can go with a state-sponsored 529, or you can go with any state's 529. But I always try to say, at least try to go with the state one first, because when you contribute to it for your kids, that's you can deduct your state income tax. So it's a tax advantage way for you to contribute and save for college. How it works is think of like a 401k. You're not really investing in individual stocks in most instances. You're kind of picking a fund, or you're picking a target dated fund, and it's kind of set up to whatever your the age of your kid. So if you got a kid that got years to college, you're probably going to be a little bit more aggressive. If you have a kid that's going to be graduating from high school and going to college the next year or two, you want to be more conservative, so you can have that money not at risk, so you can have some available funds for college. And basically the proceeds, whatever you anything college wise, like tuition, room and board, laptops, computers, books, things like that. If you're using that money to buy things like that for college expenses, there's no taxes, there's no penalty. Where people get in trouble is they'll get it and they'll spend it on a car, or they'll spend it on clothes. That's when it becomes a taxable event and it becomes a penalty for the kid. And another good thing about it is you can start it with little to nothing. Some state-sponsored programs, you can do it for like $20. And you can just do 20 and park it and never do anything else. Or every month you can put another $20 in and just keep on, moving that portfolio up and just adding every month whenever you want. And then if you have multiple kids, you can split it up and, say, okay, I'm putting 25 to this one, 25 to the other, 30 to this one. And you kind of break it down. So each kid has to have their own 529. And another thing about it is, let's say you have one kid that has, they're just a rock star. They get a scholarship. They don't need the college expenses. You can transfer that over to another kid, and it's not a taxable event, and that kid can use it for whatever they need when they get to college. So that's kind of just about 529. But please, man, if there's anything I miss or anything, chime in. I can go deeper into it.
Well, one of the famous things now is what Waka Flocka is saying about using your health benefits to pay you. I don't know if you watch this stuff where he's, I don't know the exact name of it off the top of my head because I wasn't thinking about it before we went live, but basically getting your health insurance and then you cash it in and you spend that money and create an LLC, which creates something else. It's basically being able to pay into it and still borrow against it while it still collects.
Yeah.
You know what he's talking about?
Yeah, to a certain extent, he's talking about probably the HSA, the health savings account, if I'm not mistaken. And it's something where from your income, when you work and you're getting a paycheck, you can put a portion of that to your health insurance. And then throughout the year, you can pull that savings for whatever you need for health wise. And then those funds are they're going to be invested in the market or something where they have some growth potential. So he's probably talking about HSA. He's probably in a specialized situation where he can have an LLC and, do some other things where he has the tax advantages. That's probably getting deeper with it. But for the average person, you can get an HSA at your job. A lot of jobs, like with a 401k, they have the option for you to have an HSA also. So it's called a health savings account. Yeah,
I used to work with Target Corporation. I worked at the one on Harbison, and then I moved to the warehouse, and we had it, and they matched me dollar for dollar. Don't quote me on this. I think it was 6%. But then what they said recently over the years, I left there. I went to another company that don't match, so I can tell a big difference in my 401k.
Yeah.
But I know they wanted to say that they wanted everybody that's eligible in the world for 401k to get in. And if you're already in, every year up to 10% is going to automatically kick up. 1%. You would have to go in there and adjust it. And I've been telling people, from my point of view, I said it's the smartest thing because it's money you don't see.
Yeah,
it's pre-tax. It's money you don't see. As long as you don't touch it, as long as you don't see the growth, and you know the growth, you're okay. But if you see the growth, know the growth, you're gonna touch it. I've been guilty, and I've served where I had to do it a couple of times for emergency. I'm talking emergency. And I'm just right, y'all worse than a loan shark. These rates is crazy. But to have a 401k and not have to solely survive on Social Security when you're at that age is a great thing, to only have to survive on Social Security at that age.
Yeah, and honestly, how things are going, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to survive off of just Social Security alone, man. You hear things about it's going to be underfunded in the future. I think what they're saying about that is you might still have Social Security, but they might not pay the full max out like what they would at this period now. And, I see that as kind of like, a portion of your savings, but don't look at that like your Social Security is going to be your only savings, because it can't be. If you got to do what you got to do, if that's what you have, that's what you have. But, it's not going to be something that you're going to really be able to live and do everything you want in retirement off of just your Social Security in most instances. So, 401k, and I talk to a lot of clients and prospects, and you'll be surprised. A lot of people that don't want to invest in a 401k because they either feel like, the stock market's a gambling game, or, they know about it, but they're intimidated about it. It's too overwhelming for them to think about it. So they just don't do anything with their 401k. And, another thing is you'll see a lot of people that move from job to job. And once they leave that job with that 401k, they'll be like, what do I do with it? I don't know a financial advisor. I don't know how to look for a financial advisor. I don't want to invest in myself. Let me just cash it out, and then, that continuously happens, and then you don't have any savings for retirement. So, the hard conversation I have with some of my clients and prospects are the ones that's a lot older and they're looking back at what they should have did 20 years ago. And time is one of your biggest valuable assets you have, So, if you're young, definitely start at the scratch. 401k, just put aside whatever you can. And I mean, honestly, that money you would just spend fast food, clubbing, whatever. It's so minimal sometimes that you won't even miss that money. So, and it just grows and grows over time if you continue to contribute. And the big thing is, if your company's matching it, man, that's free money they're giving you too, man. So I'm a big proponent of 401k. Sometimes I got to tell my clients when they're like, hey, should I just take out the 401k and bring it with me? I'm like, nah, man, because you're getting that match dollar for dollar. You can't beat that. Holler at me in the future when you leave that company. But right now, keep on getting that money. Keep on like clockwork every time contributing. Because, when you're outside of a 401k, it's kind of hard to be disciplined, and just continuously contribute.
I met through my years working at Target, like when everybody started leaving, and that was my question: what'd you do with the 401k? Did you leave? Did you take it? Everybody took it. Everybody either took it and spent it right away, or took it and pieced off on it. So what I did was I just left it. And if I needed to piece off, I did, but I just left it there. I still get notifications about what's in there. That first COVID year, I was about to cry. I was like, God, how much? I didn't think I was even worth that much. But just to be able to say that, that I have something sitting over there, and then the new job I'm starting with, it doesn't have match, but I'm starting one. So I kind of wish I would have known all this. Like I said, when I was young, my parents would have gave us all this info instead of the piggy bank. But I deep dive into this, so like I love this. I love talking about this. Like we've talked about it on many episodes. It might be for briefly on an entire episode, but this part is this show right here is what I've always wanted. I preach for all the time. Investment in general. Everybody thinks investing is I'm gonna invest in myself with this barbershop. But what if that barbershop don't make it? Like, can you invest into a barber shed to get to the barbershop? Or can you invest in the food truck before the building? Or not the food truck? Can you invest in the pop-up before the food truck? You know, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. You ask one of my favorite rappers, Slim Thug. Slim Thug is always talking about investing. He does a lot of real estate, but he does real estate with one of his partners. That's just money. It's always money. It's something that he can do depending on tax breaks and all this other stuff that he's getting. So it's not like he's spending. He's spending money for the future, but the amount he's spending is way smaller than what it could be in the future. And two things to piggyback off that. One, it's funny you say Slim Thug. I was just listening to his new album yesterday. It's called Midlife Crisis. That thing fine.
It's nice. So definitely check out Midlife Crisis. But with the 401k, even if you don't have an advisor or you don't want to invest and you just don't know what to do with it, maybe it's best just to let it sit where it's at with that 401k, because it's still in the market in most instances. It's still invested in the market. It still has some growth potential. So, it's not always a bad thing just to let it sit wherever it's at, because, over time you might get that knowledge and you get that wisdom, and then 20 years later, that 401k that you let sit might be worth a lot more, and maybe you had that knowledge and experience to go ahead and move it to wherever you need to move it to. So, definitely don't feel like you got to either invest it somewhere else or cash out. You have the option just to let it sit where it's at, man, and just let it grow.
This comment said, what about the entrepreneur sector? How do we plan for retirement after 20 years in the business? So 401ks are for people that work at jobs for the most of the examples, but entrepreneurs have ways to do retirement plans too. You have the SEP IRA, you have the simple IRA. I have a lot of clients that's like business owners where it might be just them, or they might have a small staff or independent contractors. And, a SEP IRA is a good functional way for them to save for retirement, because, in most instances, you can, depending on how much your company makes a year, you could possibly, the max out is up to $58,000 a year, and every year it goes up. So don't quote me, because every year the amount goes up, but you can put up to like $58,000 that's contributed from your company. You can also contribute individually $6,000 or $7,000 if you're over 50. So think about that. You can contribute a lot more
And then, you know, it's a tax deduction opportunity too, because whatever your company is contributing to your retirement plan is bringing down the income of the company. And then what you contribute individually to it, you can possibly bring down the income of you individually. So I think a lot of small business owners, you know, implement a SEP, a simple IRA. You also can do a 401k, a solo 401k, there's various other ones. But I think the simpler one in most instances for a lot of people is a SEP, because you don't have to have all this admin and record keeping stuff. You can easily set it up and, you know, tool out from there and do what you want to do with it. So I definitely think, you know, it's options. And then another thing is you had a traditional IRA. That's for entrepreneurs or people that just want to have another way to save for retirement, or some people work at companies where you don't have a retirement account. You don't have a 401k. So a traditional IRA or Roth IRA is a way for you to save for retirement. And, you know, it just really, when you're looking at a traditional and a Roth, they both have the same max amount, 6,000 if you're under 50, 7,000 if you're over 75 now. I think it's 75 if you're over 50 now. But the thing about it, the only difference between a Roth and a traditional is, you know, on the traditional, you get that tax advantage on the front end. If you contribute to it and you meet the income standards, you can deduct that from your income for that year, whatever you contribute for that year. But at the end, when you're taking out money at retirement, you're going to pay some taxes on that. But on a Roth, you know, you don't get the tax advantage on the front end. What you contribute on the front end, you're not going to be able to deduct that on your income. But when you're like at retirement age, 60, 70 plus, and the portfolio grew to a large amount, whatever you take out, it's no taxes, there's no penalty on it if you're past that age. So, you know, it's just really picking your poison, these various things, and just kind of sum it up. You got traditional, you got Roth, you got SEP, you got simple, 401k. It just really depends on what makes sense for you as a business, for cash flow, and just various other things going on in your business.
So what do you think about money market?
Money market. So money market honestly is a broad term, because like if I think about all my clients' investment accounts, it's a money market portion of their account. And money market is basically the cash portion of your account is usually invested in, it's not even really invested, it's in some short-term, you know, treasuries or something that's yielding a little bit of income. So that's one aspect of money market. But you have some money market funds out here, and I can't go into detail specifically, but it's crazy in this market right now with interest rates going up. It's some money markets that you can get where you're getting a high yield better than a dividend from a stock and some corporate bonds. And honestly, that's kind of part of why the market was having some periods where it was slowing down, because a lot of people were parking their money in money markets because they can yield a lot from there and not be at risk compared to being in some stocks where you have fluctuation. So, you know, I like I say, going back to diversification, man, you know, have exposure to various asset classes that make sense. Money market definitely is a place to park some cash and get some income when you're in a favorable situation.
Yeah, man. I was telling we had another lady on financing on here, and I told her I got CDs. I got 2 CDs. Them bitches ain't amount to nothing. I took change out one pocket and put the change in the other part. That's how much it grew.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this: you have different CDs. You have like bank CDs that you get from a bank that you basically you can liquidate them at certain points, but you know it's not really much fluctuation. And then you have you know, like secondary CDs that you can kind of buy like with a brokerage firm that, you know, you can sell them like a bond at any point. Like they might mature at a period, but you can sell it in between that maturity. I never really recommend that because it doesn't make sense, but it's a little bit more liquid. And some of these CDs, that's another thing. Like we're talking about money markets. Some of these CDs over the past year or two were yielding a lot, you know? So some of these CDs, you know, where people are parking a lot of money because they can get a lot of income for little to no risk because they're FDIC insured.
Yeah.
So it just really, going back to CDs, it really depends on what kind of CDs you have and what they're yielding and what the market's doing and what interest rates are doing at that moment.
It looked like they ain't doing that. They took a break too. They caught COVID.
Exactly. And I mean, like for a lot of us, you know, that's kind of what we know. Like we might not know about our family members giving us stocks or something like that, but they might have gave us CDs or savings bonds and things like that. And I think it's just, you know, with us as a people, man, we've been through so much that, you know, we're risk takers, but we're usually risk takers of things we understand, you know? And because of maybe lack of exposure and different things, we didn't have the exposure to capital markets and investing, at a speed of other cultures. So, we're going to dip our toes in things that we think are safe and, conservative. And there's nothing wrong with that. But like I said, get exposure to different things and, not just be in one thing, if that makes sense. Try to be in other things that can give you opportunities for more growth.
I've always been on the diversify effect. That's why I said, like, I started with stocks, learning for myself, and then I moved to the crypto, and then I expanded what I knew in stocks.
Yeah.
I started looking for the stocks that give dividends.
I
started looking at what crypto is used for. So if this crypto is directly tied to Bitcoin, whatever Bitcoin does, it's gonna rise. This stock is tied to electric car batteries. So this stock in South Carolina alone, we're getting all types of crazy car batteries. I invested into silver. The reason I invested in silver because there was a part that goes on the electric car battery that's a silver part. So I figured in my head, that's kind of how I started, like, breaking down what I should invest in and learn other companies. So now when I hear companies, it's like, that company does something. It's on my cash app. It's like, you should just start breaking down. You start learning for yourself. And
going back to what you say, that was a gradual process for you. It wasn't like you try to do everything at once, man. It's an evolving situation where you kind of learn one thing, get interest into another, and just gradually move and try to learn everything. Where people get in trouble is they hear other people talking about, oh, I just made X amount of money on this asset class, and they run and jump into it without doing their due diligence and education. And then they get burned, and then some of these people might never invest again because they had such a bad experience, So I think one thing that, a lot of investors, it's not just our people, it's everybody. It's a fear of missing out, and it's a fear of catching up. Like, you see all these wealthy people, and you're like, look, I'm behind. I got to try to jump for that three-pointer. I got to run for that home run. When it's like, just try to get a bunt, try to get on first base. And then from there, try to get on second. And then, through those times, you might get a home run if you stay in the game, but don't feel like you always have to go after that home run.
I've been thinking about the average. As long as my average is low,
the
average person, that's what I look at also. Whether it's crypto or the stock, I just look for the average of which I bought. If my average is lower than whatever the high point is at that time, I know I'm winning.
I get you.
We had somebody hit me up on my phone. How do you feel about ETFs versus money market? ETFs have the potential for higher growth potential. It could be something your audience wants to hear about.
So I kind of got the gist of what you're saying, but I'll say it like this. ETFs are a term for various different things. You have ETFs that's weighted towards the stocks. Like, you have ETFs that mirror the S&P 500. You have ETFs that mirror the NASDAQ. You have ETFs that might mirror, China. So it's basically a good way to invest in a basket of assets that have a certain similar theme. Like, let's say China. You think China's on a move, but you don't understand each company or what's the best company to invest in China. But you do feel like China is a good play. So you might invest in an ETF that has exposure to China and get, a broad picture and a broad influence and experience with that investment. But you got ETFs that's in money markets that might have broad exposure to, the money market funds. And, it's a way for you not to invest into an individual money market or an individual treasury, but invest in an ETF. So I'm a big fan of ETFs. I think that's something that revolutionized investing for us in the past 20 years, because it's made it where you can kind of get broad exposure to little to no amount of money. You can also not have to bet on one company, but bet on a sector or on a theme. So I'm a big fan of ETFs. You see a lot of people going back and forth between ETFs and mutual funds because they're very similar in the sense that they hold a basket of companies. Mutual funds are going to be a little bit different because they're actively managed by an investor in most instances. So you're going to have portfolio managers, you're going to have traders, you're going to have all these people within the fund, and they charge a fee, and you're going to get that fee comes out of your investment, and so they can be a little bit more costly. But sometimes with mutual funds, the thought process is if I'm paying a little bit more for mutual fund, I'm getting professional advice, so I'm willing to take that. With an ETF, it's not really active managed. It's more so kind of like a basket of whatever stocks within that trend or whatever it is. And the cost is a lot less. So you're paying a lot less for it, but you're getting the same quality where you get a basket of funds. So I don't know if I answered it totally like she wanted it or he wanted, but just to kind of back up to what I said, I'm a big proponent of ETFs. I think they definitely make sense for a lot of investors.
So how do you feel about people like me? It's like people like me that's saying, I don't go through no firm. I'm just trying to learn. Like I got my phone with the company, but I'm trying to learn it this way. Like, the people that ran across you, do you seem like they're too cocky and don't want to learn, or they're too hesitant but do want to learn? Like, how do you feel about those type of people? Because that's kind of how it is now. Because a lot of people that don't want to invest, they don't want to invest, and then they damn sure don't want to take their money to give it to somebody to invest.
Yeah. I come across it all. I come across people that are highly motivated and maybe they never invested, but they realize that it's time for them to start investing, and they're just excited to learn and they want to embrace the whole process. But then I come across a lot of people that they feel like they can do it better. They don't understand the reason of paying you when they can just do it themselves. And that's fine. It just really makes sense to you. I mean, I want a client that values my service and wants to work with me. If you're a client that feels like you can do it better, you're probably not the right client for me, because, we're going to have that issue where it's going to be like you second guess everything I do. And you probably need to do it yourself so you can learn on your own. So I have no problem dealing with all these different personalities. I definitely have a lot of people that they really want to do it, but they have cold feet and they kind of drag their feet, and they're scared to put any money at risk. One thing that I think is the hardest thing to do is manage people's expectations. That's hard for people that never invested before, especially when we're having like a bull market where the market's going crazy. They always ask the question of what's my expected return, and as an advisor, that's a no-no. You never tell anybody this is what your expected return is on the investment, because you can't really say what that return is going to be, because the market is something that we can't predict. What we try to do is use our education and our experience to kind of put you in the best position. But, I think one of my hardest jobs is just managing people's expectation, communicating properly to them, and just letting them know what you can expect to see in the short term and what you can expect to see in the long term.
So what's the minimum somebody can present to you if they want to be your client? Because that's the other thing. Like, people might find your energy as, all right, this dude, he got good energy. And then they're like, all right, he's in Atlanta, I'm in Charlotte. They go to somebody in Charlotte and they be like, damn, I ain't got enough. Or they got enough, but they don't feel the energy from that person. So what does, if there's the amount of money, if you can explain it, to present to you, how can I be your client?
And I say this, every firm has their own requirements. What I liked about Raymond James is we didn't have a minimum amount. It was really what made sense to me. I could work with any client I want to work with. I interviewed, previously at some other firms where they were like, if account's less than $500,000, I don't get paid off of it, So they're basically saying 500,000 and below is too low for you, which is crazy to me. That basically X out a majority of the people that I can work with that's within my network. So, over time, I think when I first started, I didn't have a minimum. I still think my minimum is pretty low, but I say, about 10,000 is usually my minimum. For certain businesses, like maybe attorneys or people that have businesses that's trying to set up a retirement plan, or entrepreneurs, I understand where I don't have a minimum with them, because they're starting from scratch and they're going to be, in it for the long term to invest into their future. So I say, in most instances, 10,000 is the minimum, but I can make some allowances for, people that's trying to set up retirement plans.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got a 37-year-old, he got one kid, they want to get married. He works a standard 9 to 5, making 50,000 a year. His old lady do a job, she making call center 37,000 a year. The way the inflation is and how price everything is, they might not have much at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But he want to invest.
Yeah.
So he says, Jarrett, I got 500. If you say you can't do it, come back with 10,000. I'm gonna try, but I know I'm not gonna be able to do it this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does that?
I mean, I have clients like that, and I was in that situation too, so I definitely have a soft spot and understand that. With those clients, it's usually what I'm really looking at, is it a right fit for us? Like, do we mesh? Are we on the same page? Is it somebody, when I pick up the phone, I'm glad to talk to them, and that's pretty much most of my clients, but I think, really, if it's a client like that, I'm like, are you willing to invest for the long term? Are you willing to, maybe you put 500 to start off, but you're going to consistently over time keep on contributing, and we're going to come up with a plan, and you're willing to stick with that. Because, I've seen it personally, and I've seen it through some of my older colleagues. They had clients that they've had for 30, 40 years, and they started with nothing, and that account grew to a lot. So I have flexibility to do that. I think when it comes down to that, it's really, a mesh of personalities, if it makes sense for both of us to work together.
And also let people know that if they have their work one, like their work 401k is dope,
Yeah.
keep that. But if you were to leave, there is a grace period for you to transfer your 401k. So if you have a chance, you can find somebody like Jarrett or another company to take your 401k and roll that over with no penalty, correct?
Exactly. And when we're talking about clients like that or prospects like that they're still a growing family, and they're really, don't have a lot of discretionary amount. Their biggest asset is their retirement asset, and maybe it doesn't make sense for you to work with me now, but I've had those conversations where they're like, I have a 401k here, and I'm not the one that's going to be pushing you to bring over your assets, but I'm here and I'm available if that time comes in the future. And you know how it is, we're changing jobs from time to time, and nowadays people don't stay at the same job for 20, 30 years. So it's going to be those movement periods where you had that conversation, what's available. Now let's go ahead and make this happen, so I'm always about investing in relationships too. I talk to anybody, and it's not like, okay, I don't charge to talk to anybody. So when I'm talking to them, it might not make sense now, but maybe 5 years from now, it might make sense, so just for you to understand that this is available for you in the future.
Also, and to the rollover, it might be somebody that don't make that much money, but let's just say you already got 2,000 in your 401k for another company.
Yeah.
Is that somebody that you would be willing to work with? Like, they don't have the 10,000, but they got 2,000. They can just roll over.
Yeah. And I say this. Yeah, definitely. I'm available for that. What I will say is, sometimes where I come into issues is when you're starting from scratch and you have only a couple $100, and that's all you're putting, it's not going to really grow that much with just $100, unless we're in some crazy, like, hyper aggressive thing that, can go to 0 to 1,000. And that's not really what I do. And, so it just, if you're just with a couple $100, you're going to have an expectation. You might want to see that triple and double, and that might not triple and double with that amount. So, it's just kind of tempering what you can expect from that account, Yeah,
you got to keep feeding it and get hungry. You got to keep feeding it.
Exactly.
Before we get out of here, you watch Billions?
Billions?
Yeah.
You said Billions? Yeah. I love the show. And honestly, I haven't watched the last season.
Yeah, I haven't either. I haven't.
You know what, man? With all these streaming services, and I think Showtime went to Paramount and something, it's a lot going on. So you can kind of miss out on certain shows. But I thought Billion was a dope show. And they kind of mirrored after Stephen Cohen. Stephen Cohen is he actually owns the Mets now.
Okay.
Yeah, so a lot of that they mirror off of his story and what happened with him. He was this big investor that debatable if he was doing some gray area stuff or not, but he was a very powerful person, and it was kind of this clash with the prosecutors and everybody. But I like Billions, man. I think it's a good show for you to kind of see how it looks on that side. But in reality, most of us aren't going to experience that kind of advisor or that, we don't have the money to invest in hedge funds most times, But it's definitely a good show just to kind of see the back end and what it looks like.
And there was a show on Netflix called The Startup. Did you check that one out?
Was that the one with Don Cheadle?
It's not Don Cheadle. It looked like Don Cheadle, but it's the other dude. He played in a lot of movies. I can't think of his name.
The startup. What were they? What kind of company were they starting up?
Cryptocurrency. They were trying to start their own coin.
Oh, do you know what platform it was on?
Netflix.
Netflix. Was that the one where they were in Miami?
They were in Miami, so they had the computer girl was the genius.
Yeah.
Was the network, and the black dude was the muscle.
Yeah. And then they had later on they had the girlfriend's father who was help funding in it too. Yeah, that was a dope show. And it's crazy when it came out before that whole crypto wave too.
Yep.
Like when they were talking about crypto, I was kind of like, I knew what crypto was, but it wasn't what it became in the past few years. But and they need to have another season, but I think it ended. It ended, it just didn't end right. Like it needs to be more to it, man.
That was a dope show.
Definitely was.
We about to get out of here because we done passed our hour, man. Just that quick.
Man, time go by quick.
So this is what we're gonna do. On your way out, you can say whatever you want to say. I'm gonna give you a little solo. You can say whatever you want to say. And talk to the people.
Look, man, first of all, I appreciate being on this platform and just this is easy for me to talk about things like this because I do this every day. What I'll say is, get education. And when I mean education, we have YouTube, we have podcasts, we have social media. If you're interested in this, start doing the research just so you can have a baseline of understanding what's going on and what to do in the investing and financial literacy world. But I'll say this, I'm pretty much available to speak to anybody that wants to talk to me. I think my information, I'm not sure if it's on there, but I'm with a firm called Raymond James. You can call me, you can email me. If you want to have a discussion, I'm here to talk to you. And we can just see what makes sense and if there's anything we can do in the future. But, I think my sweet spot and what my passion is, having more of us investing, more of us having financial literacy, because I think that's the last frontier. I think as a people and, as a generation, a lot of power comes from finance. It gives you a lot of freedom. It gives you, the capability to make moves and make decisions without worrying about where your next dollar is coming from. So, just reach out if you want to talk. If you want to talk further and have that conversation, I'm available to speak to anybody. And I appreciate being on this podcast. Maybe this will be something that we'll periodically do, but I enjoyed it.
All right, man. I appreciate that. So on the way out on our end, thank you for tapping in with the Hump Day Happy Hour Tap In. I appreciate Jarrett. This episode's been in the works for several months. This is one of those episodes that was true to me that I definitely wanted to get on. I actually wanted to get somebody on that know cryptocurrency. So Jarrett, if you know somebody that's tapped into that world, just to get on here and express it, we definitely want that link. You are always welcome to come back at any time. I'm thinking about a dope show. So two of our returning guests who do taxes have to come back. So we're going to do a tax episode in January. Even if you just want to come in and sit in on what they're saying, would be a dope show. The bottom of the bottom, man. It is what it is. You can't have what's in my cup, and that's like life. Whatever I partake in life, you might not be ready for. So it's in my cup. I'm going to live my life. It's in your cup, and you live your life. As my brother said, tell two people to tell two people, love the people that love you back. We about to get out of here. Once again, Jared, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on here. You have an open chair to come back whenever you want. Even if I don't invite you, you just hit me up and be like, hey, I want to get on. And I'll be cool with that.
Definitely.
So we about to get out of here because it's the Hump Day Happy Hour Tap In. Tap in.